and then share it on the Twitters.
Cool.
And then read your little bio. Okay, so this is my little bio that I wrote for you, Erika. I hope it's accurate. So Erika is the co-founder of Frank Body, which is a skincare products company started in a conversation at a coffee shop about coffee beans, used coffee beans. It's built a huge worldwide following, mainly on Instagram, and grown into a multi-million-dollar business in a few years. Erika was voted #1 in the 2015 Startup Daily top female entrepreneurs under 40. If that's not enough, Erika also co-owns Willow and Baker content and communications agency and a cafe called Little Big Sugar Salt.
Yeah.
Making her the only person in this community who's got more businesses than I do. And the difference being that all of hers are actually successful. So welcome, Erika.
Thank you. It's such a sweet introduction.
Alrighty. So as I mentioned, I've got a bunch of questions, but so the theme of the day is naming and branding, and I literally couldn't think of a better example of what you guys have done with Frank, either in Australia or anywhere else, especially in an online context. So maybe if we could just start like with a really brief intro of what Frank is and how you came up with the concept and the name and all of that.
Cool. So, I mean, I guess what we push out now to the press and to customers is that Frank Body is a coffee-based skincare company. We started with just one original coffee scrub, but now we have 10 SKUs. So products ranging from our body scrubs, we have moisturizers for your body and face, we have a cleanser, we have a gentle face scrub, and we have a lip products too, so a lip balm and a lip scrub. So the name for Frank and basically what underlies our whole social and brand strategy, it started when we were looking at this one product that we launched with the coffee scrub. It was packaged in a craft paper bag, which was a decision that we made for postage purposes because it fits within the slot of the post box. We were able to save on shipping costs. And it was also a coffee bag. But what we were looking at was this product that looked like dirt, and it was in a very simple craft, like brown paper packaging. We knew that we couldn't charge a lot of money for it because the ingredients were very simple. People could make the product in their kitchen if they really wanted to, even though we were using fresh coffee grinds. But even the target audience that we were looking at marketing this product to was quite young. Originally, it was an 18 to 24-year-old girl. We've since expanded that to an 18 to 35-year-old woman, but we knew that we couldn't sell it for $30, $40, $50. We really wanted to hit that sweet spot of around $14.95 so that if people tried the product and didn't like it, they wouldn't have felt like they'd wasted a lot of money. At the same time, I guess we were looking at the beauty industry and what they were doing, particularly on social media, and we felt that there was a big disconnect in terms of how they were talking to their customers and understanding their mindset. So we wanted to shake things up a little bit and be a bit different and be a little bit cheeky. And the whole idea was to be honest and remove the taboo of a woman's beauty routine. So we decided to be direct and honest and frank. So that's where the name came from, and for us it was a great chance to personify a product, which is what we wanted to do for a long time. We felt like every other beauty company was talking from that very cold, disconnected, we do this, we believe in that, and we just wanted to have a lot of fun with it. So the voice of Frank that you'll see on Instagram is very much the male sarcastic voice inside my head and my two business partners, Bree and Jess. And we are penning the Instagram account every day. And then we have quite a few people in our office that help us roll that strategy out amongst our other channels.
Very cool. Okay, so I've got a couple of follow-up things. One is, are you able to move your laptop back or like up a bit so your head's not getting cut off? Because the bio comes up over your head. And that's perfect. We've got very, very discerning audience members who notice stuff like that.
Maybe I was doing that on purpose.
So just to clarify with the name, what were you guys doing? Like sitting around an office and thinking like, what's a good name for this? Or were you thinking like it would be good to have this like direct persona on social media, and then the word Frank made sense, so you called it Frank?
It was very much stemming from that idea of being really honest and direct, and to be frank was just another, I guess, synonym for us to work with, and we loved the idea that it matched with personifying a product, and because I guess most beauty brands are either speaking from a woman to a woman or a company to a woman, we thought, wouldn't it be it'd be interesting or different to shake things up and speak from a man to a woman and be cheeky enough to kind of flirt and charm a girl, but then always know whether we were pushing it too far and still try to win them over in terms of building a long-term routine. Bree, Jess and I, we have our content agency, Willow and Blake, so we do naming and tone of voice development for a lot of different clients. And we've learned a lot, I guess, from working in various industries that we felt like we could apply to our own product.
Yeah. And so it was mainly just like differentiation, as in like no one's doing this, so that's a good opportunity for us to do it type thing.
Yeah, I mean, it stemmed from even our own needs as females, what we wanted from a beauty brand and in terms of how they were communicating with us. So it was about trying to be different and have something that consumers would really engage with, I guess a brand that was led by their needs and wants.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so if people are listening want to call in, you can do that now, or feel free to put questions in the sidebar. I think if you're really up there with Blab, you can do /question. I think it might not be question / which just happened. But if you do / question, it comes up on the screen, but that's cool. So I'll ask one or two more questions and then we'll go over to you guys.
Yeah.
I'll ask this question because that's pretty similar to what I was going to ask. So do you think your Instagram following is due more to your product or the content you post?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's very much a mix, and one of the biggest things that we work on for any client is the content strategy and figuring out what any brand is going to talk about further than their products, because it has to be so much more. You can't just be seen to be selling to a customer. And one of the simplest ways that we put it is that social media is just that, it's social. It's about having conversations, and we say it's about having debates with customers, healthy debates, of course, and sparking intrigue and, I guess, finding points of engagement and always reassessing that and thinking of new things that you can do. So when we first started, I guess, looking at our social strategy, we knew that there was a lot of education involved in telling people what a coffee scrub was. Other than people who were making it at home, it wasn't really being sold anywhere in retail or online. So there was a lot that we had to do for people to be like, what the hell is this product? Or why would I rub it on myself? Or what does it even look like? So we started by seeding, I guess, just little incentives for people to share the product with their friends on social media. So every product that went out with a little flyer that said, this is something new, it's a coffee scrub. It gave directions on how to use it and then followed it with, if you love the product, please share it with your friends. And it started with Bree, Jess and I taking a lot of these photos ourselves, showing the product in use so that people understood, I guess, and saw that it was the coffee grinds and made the connection that it would have been a coarse exfoliator, but then it had the essential oils that then replaced that moisture. And it just sort of took off. I think, you know, nowadays it's very common for people to hold a bottle of shampoo or whatever next to their face. But 2 or 3 years ago, I would have thought that was crazy. It's very much the norm now. But that was a big thing, I guess, trying to take product placement but do it in a fun way. And that's what we did. I mean, we've had some incredible photos sent in to us from different people going on crazy adventures with their scrubs or their other products. So doing cool stuff with the packaging or scrubbing under a waterfall, things like that, getting their kids involved, getting their girlfriends involved. It's been really great, and for us to show that this brand is more than just a product, it's about the lifestyle and everything that Frank stands for. Initially, we definitely went out with quite a cheeky social strategy, which was Frank the Man commenting on a lot of different elements of life, mainly babes. And, you know, we'll be quite frank and direct about that. And it worked for us. I think it was a different thing at the time. Now there's a lot of people doing it, which is why we've changed our social strategy. And we're constantly looking for ways to not exactly reinvent, but just offer our consumers more and know what it is that they're interested in and what they want to see.
Yeah, that's a good point about not just doing the same thing over and over again just because it's working for you, or because it did work for you.
Yeah, it's really easy to get kind of stuck into the same sort of patterns. And as our business has grown so quickly, we've had so much to look into, more so than just our social strategy. And we have to really pull each other up and constantly say, cool, is this getting tired? What can we do to connect with a new audience, but then also retain our existing customers?
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I've got a shitload of questions. I'm going to let people come on the call live. I'll just warn you that it is public, so we have had a couple of total randoms come on here and not have any idea what we're talking about. So if that happens, I'm usually quick to boot them off.
Fun.
But I know Jonathan's not a random, so I'll start with him.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah, I remember the randoms from the other day tonight too. It was kind of fun. All right, so first of all, I do remember a year ago seeing or hearing about Frank Bod, and it inspired me to save the coffee grounds that I use to scrub myself. So there you go. That was, you actually influenced me on that.
Happy to help.
Yeah, but I haven't bought any. But anyway, here's the thing. I wanted to ask, with all of your creative that you do to try to market, do you set up some sort of a metric, like a timeline, to see whether or not something is effective or is worth investing in? Just because I think some people, you can throw things and see if it sticks, but what do you use to sort of measure something is successful or something is worth the long-term investment in order to try to generate the audience, so you know that you've got enough runway to keep doing it? You're not shooting blanks.
Yeah.
Or how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and we have learnt so much along the way. We fucked up a lot of times, but it's kind of all part of it, and I feel like every fuck up is a chance to learn what doesn't work, and I don't really see it as a negative. I'm like, cool, that means we can move on from that. We don't need to try that again, and it just gives us a really kind of deep understanding about our audience and what they do and don't like. We were really lucky with our brand in that our product wasn't restricted by, say, a minimum order quantity if we were getting it manufactured by a big company, because we started making it by hand ourselves. So we had very little startup costs, which was great. We could just be led by the demand. And since then, we've obviously outsourced our production, and we've had to put a lot more money into the business, but it's all been sustained by the revenue we've been earning. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it depends, obviously, what business you're running and either just the production or manufacturing costs that are involved. But in terms of brand creative and social strategies, you really do want to give, I think, campaigns at least, I would say, 3 months to really take traction. So, for example, we've run several ones that have either been sales drivers or just brand awareness drivers. A month is a very small amount of time to get feedback. I mean, you can quickly see if something is taking off, but then there's so many things you have to factor in other than just using social media. You know, there's PR support, there's if you have an offline presence, and people need to almost, they're like sheep, they follow other people, and sometimes it might take a while to get that one person who jumps on the bandwagon first and then leads all the others.
Yeah.
When you're dealing, I think, with a product that is driving that kind of brand awareness, it's difficult as well, because if, say, you're pushing out a campaign on social media and if it involves people ordering product, you know, it's got to take a couple of days for them. If you're asking your consumers to help drive that campaign and they need to create content for you, you want to make those steps quite simple. There needs to not be barriers to entry, because if you make it like, cool, you've got to take this really complicated photo and share it with your friends and tag these 4 hashtags, as soon as you make it too hard, like, no one's going to do that. We're all kind of inherently lazy. I'm that very person as well. But if you make it simple and easy for someone, you'll get probably great attraction. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, we have run campaigns for a month, and I've always felt like we've needed to probably have them go for a little bit longer. And it's just about, I guess, how you balance out the surrounding content, because you don't want to lose the other messaging of the brand as well to one campaign.
Okay.
It was definitely a lot easier when we had one product and that was all we had to talk about. And now we have 10 SKUs and we have regional, I guess, holidays, or we have different events we have to talk about. So there's a lot going on and that you have to factor into the marketing mix.
Okay. And one last question to follow with that. The conversations that you all have about what campaign to construct and what that looks like, how do you make a decision, and how do you know that you're all on the same page, and how do you even handle maybe somebody who has a different opinion?
Yeah, it's very hard because there's 5 of us directors of Frank, and we can definitely have strong opinions about one thing. But I guess it's always trying to go back to what your brand originally stands for, and it is a little bit cliche and throwing in a lot of advertising and marketing talk, but we have been always kind of assessing and going back to, I guess, the brand values and what Frank stands for, and really always thinking about our audience or our customer base. We've done 2 really big, important surveys with our customers and got incredible information from them in terms of what they like and don't like about our products, about our comms, what products they want to see from us. And it's really good to see if what my thoughts as a founder or a director are, and if it's aligned with what our customers want. And so, for example, I might think, cool, I'm getting old. I need a wrinkle cream. Let's bring one out for Frank. We have everything available to do that. Mm-hmm. But then, looking into it and being like, does Frank, the brand, stand for a wrinkle cream? Are our customers needing a wrinkle cream? Not really. They're between 18 to 35 years old. We don't really need to be pushing that messaging yet. Let's leave that for other brands to do, and let's focus on what we're really good at.
Okay. Cool.
I hope that helps.
It was. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, man.
Oh, I can't hear you, Dan. You're gone. For some reason.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, no, you're back.
I'm here, sorry.
That's all right.
I think I might have muted myself when I was crunching the ice in my smoothie because I've got a shitty blender and it doesn't do a very good job of crushing my ice. So I'm like,
no worries.
muted myself. Big deal, SEO. What's up?
Hey.
Big deal, SEO needs a bigger deal. Internet connection.
Yeah. Maybe he's on the other side of the world.
There's a lot of that. You can see a map up the top of the countries people are coming into. So there's a lot. There's
cool.
Yeah, there's a bit in Australia, but mostly over in the US. Alex, how you going? Sorry, I kicked off Big Deal SEO. It wasn't working.
Hey,
how you doing? Can you hear me?
What's your question? Yep.
Amazing. Thanks for the time. Where do I get to? Right. Well, I'm launching quicker.io this week. It's an invoicing platform, a software as a service. And we're going to provide quicker invoices for busy people, basically. Now, it's when I went out looking for a domain, I spent quite a lot of time on sort of business names, websites that sort of go and compare domains that are already registered and so on, because I wanted to find a name that was quite short, snappy. You could kind of, it's like 2 syllables. You can drop it into conversations quite quickly. Because I think that's quite important for a new business, and especially for a tech business as well. But as with everybody else, it's so difficult to find a good domain that's got those attributes.
Yeah, totally.
It's almost impossible, really. So I've got quicker.io, which I thought was quite good because it gives some, almost like you said, personification of what the actual business offers, quick invoices, right? But the problem is that or at least I feel like it's a problem. There's lots of .coms, like quicker.com, which is an Indian company. It's like the eBay of India. What do you think that, and indeed the same question to you, Dan, what can we do to kind of mitigate kind of stepping on other people's brands or at least differentiating ourselves from our brand neighbors, if you like?
Totally. Well, we do a lot of that at Willow and Blake. I mean, it's something you have to factor in, whether it's trademarking and copyright and domain name registrations. And it's hard because you can think of an amazing brand and get quite emotionally attached to it, and then it's either taken or there are people competing in that space, or even if they're not a direct competitor, it just sucks if they've got the .com. Exactly. And I mean, personally, I really am about finding a kind of unique domain name and being able to get the .com. There are some cool, if you do .me or .it sort of stuff, but I think that we're still a little way away from people finding that connection depending on who your audience is. I often say that a name can be everything and it can be nothing at the same time. With Frank, I mean, it's what underlies our whole brand strategy. But say for Willow and Blake, I mean, what does that even mean, really? We just created a brand around it. We really wanted to differentiate ourselves from other copywriting or branding agencies. They technically either, especially for copywriting agencies, they were just called like Clever Copy or something like that. And we wanted our work to speak for itself, and we knew that we could also just pick a fun word. I mean, you look at a lot of tech companies or app companies, and their names are very strange, but it's what they build around it.
Almost
but
abstract,
then they can secure those custom domains, really, which I think is what you should really go for.
You mind if I ask, how did you come up with Willow and Blake? Are they names of the founders or?
Yeah, nothing like that. I really, it's something that we'd thrown around several different names, and we're in that position where we wanted to call it Trez Quills because there were 3 of us who were writing, and then we realized that was just stupid. Then we wanted to call it the Attic because that was what we called the house that we all lived in together at one stage, but that was taken by quite a few like advertising agencies overseas, and it didn't feel right. I was actually working on a naming project for another business, and I loved the word willow and wanted to pair it with kind of a harder contrasting name. And willow was really relevant for the industry that it was in. Anyway, we pitched this idea of Willow and Blake, and the client didn't like it, and we were sort of talking about whether that could be used for something else. And it just felt great. Like, we loved how it sounded. We also wanted our agency at the time to have an anonymous identity when we were just writing editorial pieces. We didn't want it pinned to either Bree, Jess, or myself. We wanted people to interpret the value of the pieces just on the content as opposed to the authors. So, you can play around. I think that there are a million companies that are called something, ampersand something, and they do their names, and it works. It's a lot of, advertising agencies or lawyers go down that path, and it's got to feel right for you. I think it needs to be memorable as well and easy to spell if people are going to be thinking it off the top of their head and typing it into their phone later on. Yeah. But, it's just got to feel right for you.
Dan, have you got any advice on domain clashing or at least naming your business?
I do, but I might save mine till the end after Erika goes because I want to respect her time. I will just tell you something really quickly though. 7daystartup.co was the domain I had for the 7-Day Startup for 2 years. And 3 months before I launched this challenge, the guy who had 7daystartup.com reached out to me and gave me the domain for free. So
wow,
that shit happens too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
thanks, Erika. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for your question. Also, I feel like oh, that's really aggressive. Are you sure you want to kick this person? Yeah, I do. I don't really want to do it in that kind of fashion. But yes, Blab, I want to kick that person out. Gideon, hey, what's up?
Everyone, how you doing? I'm good. How are you?
You've got a good setup there.
Oh, he's a professional video guy, so he's got all the gear.
You just happened to catch me in my live studio here, or the studio that I use for videos. So it worked out well. Great show, guys. Thanks for all the information so far. I'm assuming this is a place to ask a question, right? I just sort of got on a bit late.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you got a question about branding or naming or anything like that, then Erika can answer it.
Yeah. Is it okay to ask a question about trademarking, or is that not part of the scope? Because I mean, it sort of relates to branding, and it's. Wondering if you guys had any ideas on that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So I've come across this a number of times now where I'd create a brand, and normally, it's an international kind of global kind of a brand. And then the next thing that comes up is the trademarking issue. And where do you trademark? How much of it do you trademark? And, it almost seems like a bottomless pit. Those trademark lawyers just have a way with sending their invoices month after month.
You can spend a lot of money on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what sort of advice do you have for, say, a startup who's got a global business? What's the take? What do people know? What's the best way of going about it? Do you just sort of trademark in one country to start off with, and then build it up as you go, or do you just go the full bang, the full show with all countries, or is this sort of a best practice with that, or is whatever the lawyers tell you to do?
I like being told what to do sometimes and just being like, yeah, cool, great. But I think that it really depends on your future growth or your goals for the company. So, I mean, when we started Frank, we didn't expect that it would go to the size that it is now. And it was very much like, let's have fun with this. We actually, launched our company as Frank and ended up changing to Frank Body for trademarking reasons. So, and it was something that we didn't look into in enough detail at the time. So, we were lucky that it didn't cause us too much strife at all, but it was something that we had to go through. And now, because of the equity that we have built within the brand, it is really important for us to secure those trademarks across a lot of regions. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot that you can do, and for us, it's a big expense, but we're now in the position that it's something we can look into. But I can understand it would be quite hard for a startup. So I think it's about first understanding, cool, are we launching just in Australia? Is it important for me to have the trademark here? Yes. I mean, it's everyone's dream probably that it will go global, but maybe refocusing a little bit and be like, what's realistic? You know, or do we need to be a global brand? Is it just that I want to have a business that's in Australia and the US, and therefore let's just secure trademarking there? And we've gone through it kind of step by step, but I think you really need to assess where your business is going, and writing a 5-year plan, you know, it doesn't mean that you have to follow through that and to the exact lines that are in that document. It just means that it gives you something to work towards, and then you can make simple decisions for trademarking. I don't know
so,
if that answers your question.
so I guess you can maybe start off with just the trademark in Australia, and then as you go and as you develop, as you grow, you can apply for other trademarks in other countries.
Yeah, unless it is your goal within that year to be, say, in the US or the UK or elsewhere, then I would definitely look at securing it first and foremost. And if your business is looking to get a lot of press as well, that's the one thing that you have to be careful of, because there are people who, I'm pretty sure for a living, are looking for brands that are getting a lot of attention and then going and buying every other domain name and buying the trademark. So, and then using it to make more money themselves. So you need to be careful of that.
Yes. Very good. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
No worries.
Thanks, Gideon.
All right. Talk to you soon.
If anyone else wants to call in, go for that. But I've got a quick funny story about that. We started a business called Black Hops Brewing sort of after the Call of Duty Black Ops thing. And we're kind of worried that Activision would sue us for it. But instead, they reached out to us and got us to brew their official beer for the launch of their game. So,
amazing.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I was just going to say, we've had pretty kind of open conversations with people who have had similar names within the market, whether they're competitors or not direct competitors. And I think it is being open to just figuring out what's the best result for both parties. There are obviously, you know, there's a lot of companies called Frank. There's an insurance company. And so you can, I guess, respect different people's territories and the classes that they're in. So it's always really good to do a big search. And then, you know, like, it doesn't matter that there's a Frank insurance company and a Frank skincare company. You focus on your brand and get your messaging right, and people aren't going to get confused.
Yeah, good advice. I just accepted Gemma, but then you disappeared, so maybe dodgy internet. If anyone else wants to call in, go for that. I'll prioritise the ones that call in, but I do have a lot of I don't have headphones, so that's okay. So I do have a lot of good questions here. I think I wanted to answer Jamie's question, which disappeared. This is a one that's, if I click this, it should bring it up on the screen, Erika, but it's, how have you built brand loyalty / champions?
So I think we were very lucky. You know, in some ways it was right place, right time. We were on Instagram and launched via that channel when there weren't as many brands doing so. Now it's pretty saturated. And like I said before, it's commonplace for people to be holding a product up next to their face. There's just even more competitor, say, coffee scrubs. When we launched, we really were first to market. Now I know about 50 plus and in different regions. So the user-generated content was a huge thing for us because we didn't have a marketing budget to start, and we wanted our customers or the public to be our biggest brand advocates. So it was very much finding those little touch points in our marketing and our branding that could connect with customers that other brands weren't utilizing. So that might have been like the fine print on product packaging. That might have been the disclaimers on our website, the directions on how to use, which are very typically quite dry and boring. And we found a way to connect with customers and talk to them and make them feel like they really were, I guess, engaging with a person or a brand on a deeper level than they were with any other existing beauty brands. That's sort of constantly evolving. So it was one thing to just get people taking a photo with covered in scrub, and since then it's been, what else can we get them to do, whether it's competition, whether it's them taking their products on an adventure. We did an art campaign where we encouraged people to draw on the products, and we got a lot of user-generated content, and just trying to, I guess, develop the Frank Body brand and lifestyle.
what about, actually, I'll answer my question. It's sort of related to that, but I'll take Jose's question since you're right there. Jose, what's up?
Hey, hello again.
Hi.
Quick question. You hear some people suggest split testing to test things, but they're split testing different web page layouts, colors, text within the particular web page. Would you recommend split testing a name, or will that create more confusion than help? You want to see which one catches or buzzes. What would you recommend on something like that?
Probably not upon launch. I think it's really good to have like a little beta testing period where you have a test group at the start that you run it past prior to launch. We're big fans of A/B testing in terms of, I guess, the creative direction of the brand and the UX of the website. So we do basically split test what different customers in different regions are seeing when they land on our website. We also split test, say, subject headlines for our EDM database. And it's really interesting. We're becoming quite a big bunch of nerds and seeing how that relates to website traffic and conversions as well. But naming, I mean, you don't want to put, I guess, a confusing message out into the market of two different names. I think that's something that you can do with a small focus group prior to launching. And it's great to get an opinion of people that you really respect and who can give you a reason. But you have to be really careful, I think, in inviting feedback from people, because you'll just get personal preference. And my favorite color could be black, yours could be blue, but it doesn't mean that any color is better. And you really need to be aware of that. And I think that's a big mistake that people often make, or for clients that we have of Willow and Blake, we'll send them something and they love it. And then they come back 2 days later and they're like, we've shown all of our friends and one person didn't like it, so we don't think we should go ahead. It can destroy your brand, and you really need to feel confident in it yourself and know that you can't please everybody. And it's good if you don't, you want to piss some people off, because if you're making a brand that everyone likes, you're probably not doing anything interesting. You're probably doing something that's just fine.
Tweetable.
Excellent. Thank you
I'm
very,
working
very much.
on my tweetable quotes.
Thanks, Jose. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
What does EDM mean? Is that like email list?
Yeah.
Email list. What do you guys use for like email marketing?
We use MailChimp, actually.
Oh, okay.
And it's been great. And we have just sort of had a global email marketing strategy. And we're now going to focus on regions this year, which will be really fun for us. But what I find really interesting, and I'm constantly looking at different brands locally and internationally, and I think that's so important to draw inspiration from what you're seeing out there and either do something better or learn from them and make it your own, not copy. What I find is, and it's the same with social, there are a lot of people sending out these emails just pushing product after product. No one wants to get an email a day of products. Like, they want to know what your brand is about and what it stands for. So anyone who, I guess, subscribes to Frank Body's email will see that we really mix our content up between educational posts about beauty, whether that's skincare routines, our product philosophy and the actual benefits of our specific products. But then we have lifestyle content. So Frank writes blogs, which is just telling it from a guy to a girl, certain things that he thinks girls should know. We'll do posts on fashion. We'll do posts on food. We're really interested in what our customers like, and when we found out what it is that they really believe in and they love, we serve that to them on a daily basis. And that's what I think is important, again, with your social strategy being more than just your product.
Yeah. Ruth, what's up?
I'm sorry for so many questions.
Hi.
So, at the startup, you always struggle in terms of money. So, for example, trying to find money to do the logo or to do the videos, animation, things like that. And it's very easy to screw up in the first instance, and then screw up your brand maybe. So, how do you go and fix things when it goes wrong in terms of branding in the initial launch of one of the projects?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have always been a believer in that you have to spend money to make money, and I am a big believer in branding. I think that there are so many competitive products and services out there, and it is the businesses that have a brand that connects with consumers that really will win, especially in the long term. So there are a lot of, trendy products and services out there, but if they don't make that kind of long-term connection with a customer, it will drop off after a while. It can be really hard, I guess, getting up those startup costs, but there are a lot of ways to go about it, whether that is finding a small investment group, whether it's using platforms like Kickstarter or Pausable. But I do also believe that you really have to put aside a little bit of money and work towards that. So it's one thing to say, cool, I want to start this company tomorrow, but maybe that means for 12 months you really do need to be putting money away, and a small amount. Like, you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on your brand from the get-go. You can do it in iterations, and maybe you find someone who can work with you and grow your brand as your business grows. So you start off with a really good but simple brand, and you don't cut corners to save money, but you do invest in that first impression in terms of a logo and a website. But as the business then turns over money, you put that back into the brand. That might be a website refresh. It might be then looking at another social channel that you start marketing through, or printed collateral. It's just doing it in iterations, and really having fewer things on your to-do list that you have to check off means that you're not thinly spread and committing a small amount to 10 different things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have Instagram and so many other channels, so maybe you should take one at a time.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things I say about social media is, you don't have to be on every single channel. There's too much noise out there, and I think it can look like a desperate grab for people's attention. And, it's not impressive when a brand is on every channel but pushing out the same content, or pushing out crap content, or not pushing out content for certain periods of time. If you're going to do a channel, nail it, learn what your audience likes, and then apply it to the next when you actually have the resources to commit to that. And there are a lot of brands that only have an Instagram channel or only use Facebook, and you really have to think, is Twitter for your brand? Is there any relevance? If not, don't do it. Don't feel that pressure. Just work with what you know, where your audience is, and where your brand can, I guess, come to life.
Right. Okay, cool. My startup is about booking sport instructors for children. So it's a lot of trust that I need to build with parents and the sport instructors. Do you, in terms of branding and coming up with a story behind, I need to build that story like a more family-oriented?
I think you dropped off, but was that enough for you to answer the question? Otherwise, I can...
No, it is. I think that what you should probably really think about is just, who is your kind of customer, or who's making those purchase decisions, which is probably going to be the mum. They, are kind of looking after a lot of those important decisions about the welfare of their child or what they're going to be learning. And so it's, how do you connect with them? And obviously there's got to be rational and emotional benefits for what you're offering. And that might be that the child has the skills to swim or to play a sport, but then emotionally it's that, they're going to be outside, they're going to be happy, they're going to be surrounded by friends, they're going to make a connection with a new person. You want to really touch on all of those points. And in your branding, I guess you want it to speak to both the parent and the child. So maybe it's sort of, colorful, or in some ways gets a child's attention if they are looking at it, so they are also engaged and want to do the program, but then it's balanced out by the credibility of the service that you offer, so the parents feel that they can trust in the brand.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I hope that helps. Yeah. No worries.
Thanks, Drew. Great advice. I just wanted to go back to the social media platform one, because I've got a question, and so does someone else in here, and that gives me enough reason to be selfish and ask it. So I know you guys were heavily focused on Instagram. Have you? What decisions do you go through when you look at new platforms? And I'm particularly interested in Snapchat and whether you're on there, and at what point would you get on there or put a lot of resources to it if it makes sense, and how would you make that decision?
Yeah. So, Frank Body is still very much a startup in itself, and we have been quite under-resourced for quite some time. And this year is all about putting a lot more processes in place and hiring more staff to help us roll out both global and regional campaigns and strategies. Snapchat's a really interesting one for us. We have created a Snapchat channel and are still trying to really learn from our audience and what they want from a beauty brand. It's kind of my worst fear that we'll create a channel and just put content on there for the sake of it. Like, I personally want to be able to enjoy it and think that we're doing something clever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did start with our Instagram and Facebook channels, and Instagram gave us the most return. It was where our first sale came from, and it grew incredibly quickly. That growth obviously has probably slowed down, or it's not as rapid as it was, purely because there are so many more users and so many brands on, and you have to really fight to get your message across. Yeah. And now with the introduction of ads. And so for us, we're really in, I guess, a testing stage right now about trying ads, trying different content and figuring out what works, and really trying to differentiate the content that we put on our different channels, and understanding what people use them for. Whereas if Instagram is quite visual and people are looking for engagement, or in terms of an aesthetic, whereas if Facebook is more of a chance for us to post press related or industry related content and be a little bit more educational. Our YouTube is obviously a chance for us to show, I guess, what Frank is in real life and connect with beauty bloggers, or bring to life our Dirty Talk blogs, where we interview influencers or everyday people about their lives and what they do, and their connection with Frank or beauty in general. But Snapchat is obviously amazing. There's quite a young demographic on there, and there's a big chance for us to talk to them. And I think we're going to be developing a strategy around that, about how we can not just be on there, but turn that into, I guess, sales for the brand. And now that we have 10 SKUs, is it focusing on the whole range? Is it focusing on one? And how do we make it seem, I guess, authentic, as much as I hate saying that word, but we don't just want to be looking like we're flogging off product or content in any way.
So, okay, so it's about trying it if it looks promising and seeing what your audience responds to. Is it also about, like, are you following other accounts that are doing it really well, or have you seen other people do it well and therefore you think there's an opportunity there? Or
yeah, my head is either in my laptop or in my phone, and it's always looking at other brands and from anywhere. Like, I look at what people are doing in property and I'm like, that's really cool. Is there something that Frank could do that takes inspiration from that? And I think that's really important. You can learn from any industry, and it's really interesting to see what people are doing, but to understand your audience. So, you know, is your audience looking at property, or are they looking at a select few influencers? And so should Frank partner with them, say on Snapchat? Or what accounts, what accounts are doing really well on Snapchat, and what content are they pushing, but also how are they supporting that through their other channels? Because you can have great content on Snapchat, but if you're not telling people about it, you know, how are they going to see it? So is your Snapchat account supported by Facebook ads, or are you promoting it on your Instagram channel? You know, is there any offline material that you can support it with, which is a whole nother thing.
Cool. Okay. And someone else has asked a question, which I was also going to ask. It sort of ties back to Jamie's question about finding brand champions. What do you guys do with influencers, especially on Instagram? And do you, like, were you sending them free stuff, or were you paying them, or are you just hoping they will post? Do you do celebrity stuff? The question here is, have you sort of had celebrity endorsements, which is, I guess, a similar question.
Yeah, of course. So when we first started, Frank, it was very much about establishing relationships, like one-on-one, with a lot of influencers and bloggers. That was in conjunction with the consumer-generated content. So I think it's really important that you're not just focused on celebrities or influencers, but your customers, those everyday people, because they're the people who are going to be purchasing it. These influencers and celebrities don't pay for shit these days. You need to be reaching out to the everyday people who are a lot more accessible and attainable as well. So there's sort of this fine line now, because, you know, celebrity endorsements are one thing, but they cost a lot of money, and we haven't done a top tier celebrity endorsement for Frank yet, because we haven't found any kind of alignment that we think would be worthwhile or feel right for us. And that's really important. You know, I'm not saying that we would never do that, but if there's somebody who really aligns with our brand and does believe in our product, sure, you know, we're open to having those conversations. But what you'll find now is there's this sort of surplus of agencies that deal with influencers and talent, and it's kind of like they just farm products through, really, and you will pay a lot of money to have someone hold a product next to their face, and there won't be conversion. Whereas, I guess, influencers used to post about a brand or a product, and because it felt a lot more authentic, you might move, you know, 5,000 followers over to your account, which is great. Now that same person might do that and you might get 5 followers, and it's just the nature of the platform. So I think people need to be really wary of that and to really look into the engagement on people's posts and see how many people are liking and how many people are commenting, how many other brands that influencer is representing and how they're talking about it and showing the product, and really trying to establish, I guess, a more personal connection and relationship with them so that they are stronger and better advocates for the brand. But I mean, it is really important, and influencers is still something that we look into every day.
I think Instagram's also sort of at a pivotal point now where it's becoming much harder to get engagement and traction on Instagram. It sort of used to be you just post stuff and you'd get a whole shitload of likes, and it's just at that tipping point now where it's just becoming a whole lot harder. Facebook are going to become very, very smart with it, and it's going to be a lot harder to get free promotion through there, like it is on Facebook compared to 3 or 4 years ago.
Of course. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, great content will still get traction. And I think that's what's really important and people can't forget. So for us, I mean, even we need to keep looking into Frank's social strategy and realize that there are a lot of brands, whether they're other coffee scrub brands or whether they're just existing beauty brands, that are now talking about the same things, putting up the same posts and captions. So what is our next step? How can we be better?
Yeah. Okay. So you guys have got questions. I've got like 20 questions here, so I'm not going to be able to get through them. An easy way to get your question answered is to call in, and then I'll click the button and you can ask it yourself. I'll try this one. @PassIT Global. Let's see what happens. So I've answered that one.
Where is this one from Big Deal SEO that we missed out on? Yeah,
that one was kind of... he called in, and I'll add it here. I couldn't really understand it, but you might be able to understand it a bit better.
Okay, so B2B, I mean, I guess the way that I can talk about that would probably be with Willow and Blake. When we started, I was looking at other copywriting agencies, and they literally, their websites would say, we write funny and clever copy. I was like, why don't you just write something funny and clever? You know, people need to show and not tell, and it's incredibly frustrating, but it's what stands out. And, you know, you can look at other people in the industry, but it doesn't mean you should do what they're doing. Like, if you have a chance to make SEO creative, do that. That's what people are looking for, and it's removing the fluff, because people are coming to you because they don't understand that industry and they want you to be the expert and simplify it for them, but let them know that, like, you've got this covered, this is what you do. But I think if there's a way that you can simplify the messaging or to understand their needs, because I guess if people are coming to you, their main questions are just going to be like, how do I increase my ranking? How do I get people to see my website first when they do a search in Google? Answer those questions to them, like, speak quite honestly and simply. Like, that could be the first things you address when they come to your website. And then, I mean, for us, if you look at Will and Blake's website, our agency copy is very short and simple. It's just like, this is what we do. Here's examples of our work. And then when people contact us, we go into that detail, and we've sort of built equity around the work that we do and the people that we are, and then we explain that process when we meet up with them. But having case studies, I think, is really good. But then if you are going to give an example of a client you work with, don't fuss about it for too long and go in, you know, write paragraphs about it, but answer those questions of, like, this was the problem, this was the solution that we gave them, and this is the return that they have. We increase their ranking to this. Like, that's what people want to know at the end of the day. I hope that helps.
Yep. Perfect. This is an interesting question. I've lost it, but I'll ask it. If you had another product, like you were talking about wrinkle creams earlier on, would you guys consider starting another brand underneath Frank, or would you just rule it out and knowing that there's enough opportunity in whatever you guys are currently in the market you're currently focusing on?
Yeah, totally. We've had that discussion several times, and I think that most of us in the office have a new business idea every day. At the moment, it's probably, we wouldn't have time. Frank Body takes up so much of our energy, and as well as running Willow and Blake, which is still running at full capacity. But it's more of a need. Like, if I felt like, I think eye wrinkle cream products are bullshit anyway, and this is what I've sort of found out. But if I felt like there was something missing from the industry, like say an eye wrinkle cream wasn't talking in the right way, or there really was potential for it, and if I cared about the product, then maybe I would consider it. But everything has to kind of fall into place. You know, you want to like the product and feel like you would use it, or know why your customers would use it, and then have an idea about the brand that you would want to push out. But we now know what Frank Body's core product offering is, and that's coffee-based skincare. But it's got to be fun and cheeky, and it's got to meet those criteria. And I guess the eye wrinkle cream just didn't cut it. So
cool. We've got this is just more of a technical Instagram question. What's the etiquette for using photos that aren't your own? And not ones that followers have sent you?
So we've come up against this quite a lot, and you know, the internet is one giant big black hole. You go into Tumblr and then 3 hours later you don't even know where you've been. And we have posted a lot of content where we found it on one Tumblr and we've credited that account, but it hasn't been the original source. I think obviously social media being a social platform, and it is for sharing, and it can provide an amazing opportunity for photographers and artists and individuals to grow their networks so quickly due to the sharing of content. But you need to be kind of receptive and okay that people can often make mistakes. So at Frank Body, our rule is always credit where you know the source. Like, actually don't really post images if you don't know who the source is. If it's the incorrect source at the time, because that's where you found it, generally people, you know, because these networks are huge, they'll tag the correct source straight away, or the original owner will contact us and say, hey, you haven't credited my photo. We straight away say, cool, great to know that this is who you are. Thanks for letting us know. We edit the caption. We'll post again to support them, to show that we want to try and move followings across, or introduce our followers to their brand again. And we just say, you know, that was just an honest thing that can happen. We didn't know who the original source was. But I think you do really want to, wherever possible, credit people. And then when you do, you're going to introduce them to your brand. But in saying that, you know, when we first started, we didn't have any really of our own content, and that's how we launched, by using third-party imagery, and it was really great for us. But I think for any brand, you want to consider having your own owned content, something that no one else can really take from you, or unless they're sharing and crediting you themselves. But the same thing, like if someone posts one of your pictures, you know, you don't have to attack them or be as defensive as you think you do. It really can be a simple conversation of, hey, that's actually my image. Do you mind tagging? And most people will say yes straight away. There's no need to make it into a big argument.
Very cool. Okay. Can I ask you this question? Because I want to know this as well. How difficult is it running two businesses, although it should be three? As a startup, should you focus on one thing?
This is a tough question. I think I ask myself it every day. It's great to focus on one thing, and I wonder what that would be like if I could give all of my time to Frank Body or Willow and Blake. And I think that it's important, but at the same time, for a lot of people in startups, well, they might begin that business while they're in an existing job to just support themselves financially. And that's something that I did originally too with Willow and Blake. And that worked well for me. And I got, I guess, the brand up to a point that where then I knew that I had to jump ship and give this brand all of my time and energy. There's no kind of method for juggling the two businesses and even then working on the cafe, but I think it's about having a support team, whether that is one business partner or four, but people who you can trust and have different skills, you know, not everyone overlapping, trying to do the same thing, but recognizing where your strengths and weaknesses are and finding people to fill in those gaps. I think that it's just important for, I guess, any person really to know what they want out of their life and their day-to-day. And if you're driven by new projects and new ideas, then that makes sense. Maybe you can do 2 or 3 businesses, but you should also not feel like you have to have a million, or even leave your job and start your own thing. Some people work a 9 to 5 and that's great for them. I envy them at times.
So why do you keep the other businesses going? Is it just because you like having multiple things on?
Yeah, I think that I do. I love like I've been trying to figure out really what my hobby is or why I do everything that I do. And I love people at the end of the day. That's all I can really pin it down to. And I love understanding what goes through their heads and why they engage with brands or why they consume things or why they talk to other people. And I am driven to, I guess, create products or services that meet those sort of needs and wants. And Willow and Blake was started because I loved writing, and it was the same for my two business partners, and it was what we wanted to do every day. Now we have a team of 7, and we've provided a career for other girls. Like, I would never want to walk away from that. And we work with lots of startups every day, and it's really great when we can translate the ideas that they have in their heads into forward-facing communication. So it's great to keep that running. Frank Body was a brand challenge for us to be able to do that for our own product, and we've satisfied that, and it's been great. And I'm learning so much about the industry and about digital and about branding and manufacturing. Like, it's amazing. And I think I will continue doing these things as I continue to learn, and it's only when I stop learning that I may walk away from it. And then the cafe, I mean, I just love breakfast, and I figured, why not make a place that I can eat for free at every day?
Right.
But that was great. Like, I felt like there wasn't a coffee shop that I felt like cooked the food that I wanted or looked the way I wanted it to. Everyone was doing the same thing at the time, and it was really frustrating me. And I probably have a little bit of naivety in my character that I just think, sure, why not? We'll give it a go. But it's, touch wood, worked to this date.
Right, very good. I started a brewery for the very same reason, so I could drink beer for breakfast and have the ATO pay for it.
Exactly. Why not?
All right. Well, this has been really fantastic. That's coming up to an hour, so I better let you go back and run all of your businesses. Thank you so much for coming on the call.
No worries.
What's the best place for people to find you and stalk you online? Are you a Twitter person or Instagram or?
Yeah, I have all of those things personally. It's just the spelling of my name, which is a bit tricky, but you'll find me. And then obviously there's Frank's channels and Willow and Blake. willowandblake.com is our website if any startups want to talk about us providing services for them, and you can get in contact with us by email and we can chat. But yeah, just shoot me an email. I'm up late. That's generally when I respond to them.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for being generous with your time and coming on and sharing all of that with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, have a good day. See ya.
See ya. Bye.